Hey Annette, how's it
Hello,
going?
Annette. How are you? How's things? Finally, we got here.
Yeah, finally, it's been a minute, I guess. Yeah, I was like really excited for this conversation, and I can't wait to ask all questions to you. But first of
Yeah,
all, a very warm welcome to my channel.
thank you
And
very much. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, thank you
what
very much.
and how are the things, by the way, in Ireland as of now?
Oh, last week we we had a storm. Yeah, it was pretty well, not good. Now it was called. They actually called the storms here a different name. So this storm was called Storm Amy. So it was very destructive. The winds were very high. It went on for about 2.5 days. Now we had a worse one there last winter. It was worse than that. You weren't allowed to go outside. We lost electricity for about 6 days, and you know, but I suppose you have to live with these things. What can you do? There's nothing we can do really. And because we're on the west coast, we're beside the sea, it makes it worse, that kind of way. So
Oh, so like, are you guys habituated with this thing? So because as you lived there for a longer period of time, is it so?
yeah, I'm here all my life, but coming and going. But I think in the last maybe 5 years, it's actually got worse. The weather. So yeah, but look, we
Makes
just have
sense.
to get used to it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know the time that we had last year during the winter, we had it was a pretty bad storm. Now a lot of because Ireland wasn't prepared for we have no underground cables or anything like some cities and stuff. So
Yeah.
everything's above ground. People had no electricity, old people had no heat, so and the weather here is not great either at times. It can be very cold. But yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult, but it was lovely to see community was coming together to help each other. So that was really good. These things are important. Sometimes it brings people closer to, in some ways, it brings the good.
Makes sense. I have never
Yeah.
experienced this kind of phenomena like firsthand, or like I've seen mostly in the movies, and sometimes I see that, or in even news also, that it completely obliterates the houses, and people like some people they have to even evacuate to different places.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Now ours, when you're not used to these storms and a country is not prepared for them, it's difficult enough. So I think Ireland are trying to or make it better for the Irish people so that we can be prepared for these storms because the climate has changed. So I think we're going to have to do something to go with it.
Makes sense. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
And coming to your like work, like when it comes to that, you are like Annette, you are into your combined psychotherapy with art and creativity. So can you tell us a little bit about?
Yes. Yeah, I'm an art psychotherapist. So I work with children from the age of 5 to the age of 19, 20. And I am trained now as a supervisor as well. So that means that I can work with other professionals, therapists that are looking for supervision. So I do that or any other type. I do group as well. So yeah, so I have a lot of strings to my bow. So it's quite good. But art psychotherapy it's a very valuable way for young people to encounter therapy because sometimes young people find it difficult to verbalize how they feel, their emotions and stuff. So with the art, it's a wonderful way for them to express themselves and to kind of in my training, we were trained to analyze the images or the creativity that the children, create. So through that, we get a kind of an idea ourselves on maybe what's going on inside that young person, the inner conflicts, what's going on between them. And then we have a chat about it then if the young person is open to that. So it's all very client led, very gentle, non-judgmental, and a way of helping them to feel independent within themselves and express, especially for young people, especially if they have a lot of mental health challenges like anxiety or depression or whatever it may be. I get a lot of school refusal. So, going to school, not wanting to go to school, young people that can't fit into the curriculum, to the structure of school, a lot of young people on the spectrum. And I suppose just giving them a space where they feel accepted, not judged, and allowed to express themselves in the way that they need in their own time as well. So it's a very valuable way to work with young people.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
commendable. And it, like as you deal
Mm.
with a lot of children, like nowadays when I see a lot of children are hyper, they are like consuming a lot of fast food, they are always doom scrolling on their phones. So are these the factors that lead to ultimately depression and anxiety?
Yeah, yes, yeah. I presume so. You don't really know, to be honest. The environment, I'm sure, the quick fix now with everything,
Yeah.
social media, the phones. I suppose my thing is when I was younger, and I know my parents probably have said this to me too. I was fortunate to be brought up in the countryside, so we would throw our bags in the door, have our dinner, and out in the fields for the day, which was a lovely lifestyle. But some kids don't have that, they don't have that kind of, that beautiful place where they can go to the space and all that. So I think nature is very important for children, nature and getting back to nature, getting back to being,
Mhm.
I suppose allowing them to use their minds to be creative instead of looking at the phones, and that's all well said and done. But it's, I suppose, today young people feel a lot of pressure too with social media, with different apps and all the different pressures of teenage life and society today as it is. There's so many
Mhm.
different things. I really feel sorry for the younger people today. I think they have a lot to put up with and to deal with.
True. Yeah, being
Yeah,
young is, I guess, overrated nowadays because, there's always a like state of comparison because of social media. We always, tend to compare ourselves with people who are successful, more successful than we are. And that
yeah,
always, keeps us on our, I guess, in
yeah.
a restlessness mind, I guess.
Yes, thinking that you need more than you actually do need.
Yeah.
I believe in a lot of, meditation and being in touch and being in the present moment because I think that's very important. And I probably would work a lot with that in my practice myself with young people, just helping them to know that they're breathing, to know that their body is present, that to be present. Because all these other things can send you off into a windfall or rain or whatever, and it's difficult for young people to kind of have any kind, steady or living in the present moment. They find that very difficult, and I think that's maybe, I think that's probably something that maybe should be brought more into young people's lives. And I know there's loads of apps and things now, but it's gone too far before they actually get there, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
That's why the art is very therapeutic as well.
Mm.
Image making, it helps a young person's mind to tap into the unconscious mind and to help them to understand maybe to understand that there is, there is space for being creative. There's space for them to actually encounter having a bit of therapeutic time, a bit of space out where they can engage with themselves. I think it's about sitting with yourself as well, which is hard sometimes, but yeah,
Makes
I
sense.
think it's important.
In India, there's still some stigma around. Like people usually don't usually go to therapist, or they would hide it. They won't tell it to anyone that
Yeah, in
we.
Ireland, it used to be better now, though. We're a lot better now with the mental health. Before it used to be, oh, just get on with it. You get on with it. Whereas now, I think Ireland is more open to it. And the problem is in Ireland now, I think, is we're finding it difficult to get therapists. They have waiting lists that are as long as my arm. They're so long. Um, that's the only thing. And then in Ireland as well, the funding. But the wonderful thing is, like, there is positives as well. The wonderful thing is that the Irish people are now open, and I suppose that's with modern society today and everything else, and that's a positive thing. Um, but I've started. I work in the schools, so there's been a pilot program that has been sent out to the schools in Ireland. It's the Psychological Education Board of Ireland, and the government have given so much money to the primary schools to help some of these children. So I actually go into the schools, say around this time of the year now, I get very busy, and do 6 sessions. I know it's only 6 sessions, but at least the young person is getting a taste of the therapy and what they need. And if they have a positive encounter with that experience in school, that going forward, that they'll feel okay about going into therapy later down the road if they need to. So I think that's very good. And then you're meeting the parents as well, and you're involved in the school environment, which is very good. And I know some people, parents have said to me, school may not be the most appropriate place to do therapy because it's very busy. But I make it work, and I think it's better that the kids get something instead of getting nothing at all, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
makes. And even like we humans, we have the tendency to keep everything bottled up. So even when we simply talk about it to a person who is non-judge, like who is not judging like us, then it's kind of a therapy itself, right? Speaking
Yes.
of saying the things that bothers us, that bugs us, if we simply say it to therapists, it can we can feel a lot lighter afterwards.
Yeah, I suppose it's about kind of speaking out, or as I said, as I do it in the creative way, it's
Hmm.
just being able to find that time to be with yourself and to have a look at things maybe that's going on for you, whether you verbalize it or not, you know.
Exactly.
Um, and sometimes words may not be everything either. Sometimes kids, you know, especially through the art, that's the way we work. You know, when words are not enough, it's mainly working through the creative process, helping children to express their emotions, because we do hold a lot of stuff in our bodies which we don't realize too, you know, from different events in our lives. So I think once young people, well, into my space, a lot of therapists work differently. I would help them to acknowledge that they have hands, feet, legs, arms, and they sit on a chair, you know, and to be aware of that, and awareness, I
Yeah.
suppose, of themselves, yeah, and coming back and knowing that we're not in control. I think sometimes is the big thing, isn't it? That we sometimes we think we have to control everything, or we're in control of this and that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think once we let that go and allow ourselves to feel whatever's coming up for us, I think it gets a bit easier. You know, I think it might
Mm,
get a
true.
bit easier. And if you have someone to help you, or maybe someone to prompt you and guide you in that, I think it's very good. It's a good space to have if you can get it.
And
Yeah.
can you walk us through, Annette, about the painting along with therapy, the
Okay.
creativity.
Well, yeah, I will, of course. The way I work in art psychotherapy is usually I'd have a consultation with the parents and maybe get a bit of history about the young person. Um, but for myself personally, I rather just kind of see where the young person is at. I have my own assessment in a way, if you could say it that way, an assessment. It's my own, I suppose, not judgments, but my own outlook on how the young person is. So I would spend maybe the three first sessions with the young person, and give them a theme. So for the first theme would be, say, introduce yourself, you know, because sometimes they forget about themselves. And especially if they're caught in a windfall of anxiety, it might be difficult for them to even do that or to verbalize that. So, and a lot of young people are very willing to engage in it. You know, some of the parents will say, "Oh, they never drew. They're not going to do art." You know, do you talk as well? You know, but sometimes children don't. You know, they don't know what to say or how they feel or what's going on. So through the art, it's a wonderful process because they can introduce themselves, and then I'd have another theme. The next one would be the family, and the third one is early childhood memories. And mainly what happens in those three assessment sessions, it just gives me a broader, I suppose, outlook on maybe what's going on for this young person. And of course, you know, I'm not blaming the home or anything, but sometimes there can be a lot of things going on at home, or, you know, different things. And the young person might be maybe just an open book, and they're taking in everything that's happening, you know, and that can be difficult. So when they do the art, what we usually do then is sit down, and if they're willing to engage and they want to talk about their image, that's great, and they can put some words to it if they want to, but they don't really have to. It's up to themselves, you know. So it's a very gentle process, and you know, just a guiding process for them, and a place they find that they can just express anything that they need to, you know, in a non-verbal way if they would need to as well, you know.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. And what about focus? So, like, and it like nowadays I see a lot of children, they cannot focus on one thing, you know. The I guess attention span has been reduced nowadays.
Yeah. There, as I said, there's a lot of social media. Phones are very, I mean, you know, ourselves too, we kind of, and it is wonderful in some ways. It's great that we can connect here across the world, you know.
Mm,
But And it's great that I can connect with some of my clients as well. That's a wonderful tool to have. Um, but I just feel maybe, a lot of children as well now are being diagnosed with different, you know, the, uh, conditions on the spectrum, mainly autism, ADHD. And I do wonder sometimes it has the social media, has the environment and the food and everything else something to do with that. And then somebody had said to me actually during the week that, yeah, there would have been a lot of those children in Ireland as well years ago, but they were hidden away, whereas now it's more accepted and they have help for them and supports, you know, um, and I was actually horrified from what I had heard how they used to deal with that years ago, but I won't go into it now. But yeah, so it's wonderful that we have got, I suppose we've got more modern on our way of thinking and our way of dealing with mental health and with these conditions as well, and there's a lot of supports out there for parents still looking for more supports, there could be a lot more, but I suppose when you're working in this job, you see it firsthand, you see it in real life, and you see what parents have to go through, and you see what the young person is going through, how they deal with school, and all those different things. Yeah.
And as you said about like online clients, you have a lot of clients, Annette. So how do you, if you have to differentiate between offline and online, do you find any sort of challenges while dealing with online clients?
Yeah, actually, during the COVID, I was working in an organization in Sligo and we weren't allowed to travel, but I was allowed to travel because I was a mental health worker and I would travel, say, an hour and a half to my job. Um, of course, you had to wear the mask and all that. And then eventually we ended up having to do online. Now, a lot of the clients that I would have met online, I would have met them face to face. So it wasn't as difficult. But I have
Hmm.
to say, working online with children, it's good. It does work. Because some of my clients I still have from that organization online, they still want to keep in contact. But at the same time, I think it's not the same as being in the room with a person. I think it's different. And the other thing is, I suppose it's that intimacy and the relationship building as well. When a young person is in the house, in their home, they're more aware of their parents being there. Yes, they'll have their earphones on and all that, and we have that all set out, but they still find it difficult, to be themselves. You can tell that they're not as comfortable as they would be if they were in a space with you on their own. So it's kind of they hold back a bit, but it does work. It does, yeah.
And what about the medicines? Like, do you feel like, is it the right way? Like, if people are too depressed or something, anxiety pills can be helpful in that?
Um, to a certain degree, like I mean, there's obviously the child and adolescent mental health services in Ireland, where young people when they're, I suppose, therapy, they're not in that category for therapy, so they're sent to a doctor, a psychiatrist.
Hmm.
Um, and I think, look, I'm not totally against medication because sometimes I have seen young people that do suffer and they need it for a time just to get them through a rough patch. And once they get through that rough patch, then they can come off it. So I do believe in medicine. I do believe it's important. It gets them through, a certain rough patch or a time where they're finding life difficult or the mood is very low or they may need it, for a different whatever it may be. And I think that's good. But I don't know about staying on medications long term, but then I've been talking to someone else, actually a doctor recently, who was telling me that sometimes it's like having a heart problem or, cholesterol or something like that, that you need to take a tablet for the serotonin in the brain or whatever it may be for the ADHD, for the different diagnoses that some children have to help them focus and stuff. Yeah. And then, when children do that and when they get through that bit of a patch, then they can start therapy and it helps them to manage themselves and to have the tools, going forward to to self-help, to give them an understanding of what they need to do, as well.
Makes sense. And Annette, as you do a lot of things, multiple, your hands are in multiple pies. So, what kind of things do you like to do personally in your downtime to, just blow up
Yeah,
some?
in my downtown, I had a good summer, thank God. Um, So for the summertime, I'm very creative. I'm an artist as well. So I would have always been creative. So when this course came up in art psychotherapy, I was delighted, even though we were told you don't have to be into art, you don't have to be an artist. But I actually feel it has given me, it gives me more of an insight into to art. So I have a degree in art and design. I went to art college. And that's what I wanted to be, all my life. And then always had a desire to help people as well. So I actually worked in charity for quite a while. So I just felt that the form of giving and it is a wonderful way, giving freely to somebody. I think it's a rewarding thing for myself. So I would have done a lot of charity work and still do a bit of that. Also mainly with just helping out in different organizations. I did work in one that supported people with addiction problems and depression. So I was kind of just somebody who they'd sit and chat to, and then refer them on to the counselling services. That was before I became therapist myself. So I could see how rewarding it is and how beneficial it is to people in the community. Everyday person that's walking on the street needs, we all need someone to talk to. Um, so the question, Janelle, I've forgotten. I gone off on a tangent here.
Things that you like to do in your spare time, I guess.
In
Go
my
ahead.
spare time for myself, yeah. Painting. I do a lot of clay. I make clay stuff. And recently I have started, I'm still in the verge of trying to set that up. I've tried everything you can imagine with creativity. I just love it. Um, Recently I've started up a shop for myself, like dedicated to my dog, would you believe?
Oh,
Um, yeah, I had a Springer Spaniel and she died last year. Her name was Abigail. And she was just my faithful friend who was there with me all the time. Yeah, even when I'd be painting, she'd be beside me. She was there the whole time. And I just think animals are just so relaxing as well. They're so like they're just there. They don't speak, but they're there in presence with you all the time. And I think it's beautiful to have an animal, a dog. Um, so I've started that shop, and what it is, it's called Abby Creates. So it's about just making therapeutic stuff like worry stones, for young people. And also making for my just I suppose I was trying this out and this seems to be getting popular as well is earrings and stuff, just making polymer earrings, so making up my own designs, rolling out the clay, adding my own designs to it. So everything with me I'm very spontaneous, so it'll be all very spontaneous and it'll come from within, I suppose, my own expression. um and also when I work with the young people, this is why I'm saying I think it is great that I am creative. um, I always will maybe the odd time do a painting if I have time afterwards, just something quick to release whatever I may have taken on within the session. So that helps me to self-care as well and to express what I need to express, if you know what I mean.
mm,
Now, look at there's times you forget, but it's about reminding yourself to self-care because we can't care for others if we don't do that, so that's an
wow.
important part. And I
Mm,
have supervision as well. So supervision helps, and I'm creative within supervision as well. I'm allowed to be creative. So that really helps me to express a lot. Um, yeah, I think that's it. I love walking in the nature. I just love walking in the fields, walking where I live. It's lovely. I love the sea. I just love to walk on the beach. I'm blessed that I have the beach nearby here and all that. So just really, really, blessed in life to have all these things on my doorstep, so it's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah. That like in the light of what you are saying, I guess I figured out this thing like people who are close to nature, I guess they would be less susceptible to depression or anxiety, this kind of things, compared to people who live in cities, I guess.
Yeah, I presume so. I know my son lives in the city, in London actually, and he's lived in the country all his life. So he finds the city. He says to me, he goes to the parks there. He's found one or two good, really good parks, where there's lots of trees and stuff. And he goes, "This is my nature." But Yeah, he does. He finds it difficult because he grew up in this area, so he finds it difficult. But he still loves, because he's young, he still loves the buzz of London and all the different things that are on your doorstep, the opportunities with work, especially because obviously in the west of Ireland, he may not have got a job as good, so you have to sacrifice something, I suppose. But he's young and he can move on to different countries if he wants, so that's a good thing too.
And as you spoke about your dog, Annette, I guess a lot of people now have pet as their emotional support or
That's right.
animal. So yeah, I want to know that even in that case, like people who have animals, who have dogs or cats, are they more positive towards life compared to people who don't have it?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say, but I presume if they're in touch with nature, life is probably a bit easier. It's a bit easier. Like they say that people from the west of Ireland are easygoing. We're called easygoing people, and I suppose because we have the nature and everything else, whereas maybe people in the cities mightn't feel it more as at ease. I have friends in Dublin, and they do say to me that where I live is a lovely area, and um, that they actually can take a breath of fresh air, in this
Yeah.
area where they are, they can't. And I'm sure that can affect your mental health and it can affect the way you are as a person, as well. So like you can get caught up in the busyness if you want to. I think it's up to everybody if they want to get caught up in it. I think people think they have to be caught up in it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that with the young people that I work with, they feel they have to, and those words are very pressurizing. So
Mhm. True.
it's like I said to them, no, you don't have to. It's your decision. You're a human being. You're a person. You can decide. You're a unique human being as well. Everyone's different. You're not going to be the same as this person. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that, a lot of comparing to other people.
True.
So like I think, yeah, nature probably does bring you back to yourself a bit more and grounds you a bit. Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Yeah, that have to think that I can resonate with because no matter what we do, there's always, there's always a room for improvement, or we have to like always strive for more. So I guess that's this mindset has been, it has been instilled in the young people,
Yes,
and I guess
yes.
social media is a crucial, it plays a vital role in it, I guess. Again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I presume it does. Yeah. Mm.
And Annette, before we call it a day, what sort of advice would you like to give to people, the viewers, in terms of being better in terms of their mental health? They can be a better
Yeah.
version of themselves.
Oh, let me think about that for a second. Um, I suppose to just enjoy the moments. Don't be rushing. Yeah, enjoy every moment of your life. Sometimes we rush things too much, or we don't settle with ourselves. We don't settle with people we love, our families, our friends. We haven't time to talk. We haven't time to. I think it's important to have the communication as well, um, and to reach out if you don't feel well in yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out. I think that's an important one because a lot of people feel there is a bit of the stigma might be in their own head. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's about, yeah, knowing that you can reach out and it's not shame. It's not nothing to be ashamed of, that it's something that is important for you to do, and it's important that you look after yourself as well. In the midst of everything else that's going on in your life. I think, yeah, is that okay, Janet?
yeah, live in the
Yeah.
present. Yeah, that's what we are not doing, I guess, as of now. Like either we are focusing too much in the past, or we are worried about our future, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's about, I suppose, the present moment, being present, with yourself, and the pressures of everything today can pull you away from that, pull you away from, you know, who you are as an individual, and your identity and what you need out, where you are in life and what you want to do, because I think a lot of young people as well will mimic other young people, which we all do. When we're teenagers, you mimic others, but in your own way to be your own individual person. You know, everyone's special and everyone's unique. So it's about looking at yourself as well and coming to know yourself and coming to know what you want and what you need as well in
Wow.
this life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that reminds me of, I guess, Oscar Wilde. He was Irish poet. I guess I'm not sure.
Yes, he was. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he said that what he said, yeah, be yourself, everyone else is already taken.
That's very good. Yeah. Yeah. Good on you for remembering that. Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's a you know, it's up to yourself really. And I think that comes with age too. You know, when you get older, you realize a lot of things. You realize like why was I fussing and rushing and racing and you know, why was I doing that to myself? You know, so I think it's about, I suppose, just trying to I suppose, be in the present moment and be with yourself and allow yourself to be and be gentle with yourself because I think we can be very harsh with ourselves sometimes, you know. And
and
like giving yourself the positive, good, well done, you've done good today.
yeah,
Um,
celebrate yourself. Yeah. Wow.
yeah, celebrate yourself, exactly, embrace yourself. You know, all these wonderful words that we have now. And I think we need to speak those to ourselves to feed it to our own souls and our own minds as well, instead of, you know, criticizing ourselves, you know, because there's a lot of the inner critic can be there too. So it's to kind of, as I do say, nib that one in the bud before it gets in, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Nice. All right, Annette, I won't hold you any longer. Thank you for your sagacious
Okay.
points. And I would love to have you one more time on my show whenever the time is convenient for you. So we're gonna catch.
Okay.
Take
Yeah,
care.
thank you, Janelle. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. I was looking forward to meeting you actually. Well done. You're doing a great job. Good, Tanya.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Take care.
Take care, Janelle. Thank you. Bye bye.